Hello everyone, Angelo here, Hollywood filmmaker, screenwriter, editor. I've got a document open behind my camera right here, the camera set on my desk. I got my laptop behind it. That's involved with a screenplay I'm writing, doing a lot of work on it, taking a screenwriting workshop, took an additional bonus lecture, basically, the other day, filling up my notebooks here with all kinds of stuff for my screenwriting. Those are just a few of them. Literally, I have a bunch more down there that I filled up already. And just wanted to talk about something I'm going through because a lot of writers go through it, and I think it's worth going through and worth talking about. And also, I just love it when writers, or really anybody who's in any kind of art or creative field, I especially love hearing when actors or writers talk about days they were struggling and alone. I love that. I don't know exactly why. It's just something about it. It immediately creates such a vivid image for me of like this pure distilled thing, like almost like a rock or like some element, you know, down to its most base form. Like that's what a writer is right there, or an actor. I love hearing these actors' stories. And it's also kind of fascinating because actors are the ones out there performing. I just love hearing them talk. I don't know if I could ever be an actor. There's a part of me that thinks, oh, if I had another life, I would like to do that. But not real. Like, it's so much work, and I don't know. It's just not from. I won't say it's not for me, but because who knows? Maybe I'll do it. But it's, I don't know. You got to have such a desire and insight to it. Oh, my water bottle just popped. But anyways, what I was going through was last weekend. So the last 2 days, I was working quite a bit on this screenplay, doing all this stuff where I won't get into the details, but it's for this workshop I'm doing. And it's really cool, it's really powerful, I'm learning so much, and I'm putting a ton of work into it, like just trying to be disciplined. I get so annoyed with anything that's a distraction. Like I try and even put my phone behind the laptop, and I put my laptop on airplane mode. There's a button that lets you do that, so the internet's off, and just type and type. And for one thing, I'm kind of frustrated and annoyed because I haven't been going out much, which is due to because of the pandemic, the recent surge, and just don't want to risk it. And also, I just do want to be dedicated to doing this, and not miss out on writing. But it just kind of got to me, the isolation. And also, I was going over stuff I wrote and going over again and again. And the problem is, when I do that, I fall into this old habit that I would do of almost like trying to just will whatever I've written into being perfect and solving. It's not even the screenplay itself, it's notes about the screenplay. So like ideas written out, notes about the ideas, like saying, is this one good? Is this one not good? Does this convey what I'm trying to get across with this story? Does this not? And a lot of them won't, because I'm still just coming up with ideas based on this story I want to tell, that I know it's going to be about this thing, this one concept, and or this one idea, and I just like, I don't know the steps of how it's going to get there, and integrate all these things where it's like the story is setting up something for the characters, and their beliefs are going to be advancing the story, and their you know, goals are going to be advancing the story, and their relationships are, you know, the story's going to be informed by their relationships. It's all going to reflect one thing. Like everything has to do multiple things. It's going to set up what they want, what the opposition is to what they want, all within this unified thing, and what will happen if they don't get it, and all that stuff. And it was making me miserable, and I don't like doing that because it's not good to me. It's like not a good writing process. It doesn't even make for good writing if I'm just miserable. And even before this writing workshop, which this workshop helped me manage that a lot, even before this, during the pandemic, the summer of 2020, when I was writing a lot, even though I was homeless at the time, I was using this place as an office that a friend was letting me use. This performing arts space, this little theater that was closed down due to the pandemic. And I would write for like 8-10 hours a day, and like what I learned was I have to like relax this like muscle that I have in me. Say this is like my view of my writing. I have to sort of relax it and release it and enjoy my writing, because if I hate it so much and think it's always not perfect, first of all, it doesn't make for very like much progress in my writing, but also it's like painful, and I'm just not getting much done, and I'm losing insights into things I could be doing. And it's scary because it like makes me so miserable when I'm like that. And I was catching myself doing that yesterday. I'm like, whoa, I can't be doing this. So I immediately opened another document and I started writing as if I was the character, and writing their thoughts and like journaling as them. And that helped a little bit, because at first I was kind of like tight, restrictive, like, oh, I don't want to write anything if it's not good. But I have to think, no, I have to write it if it's not good, even if it doesn't make sense. I have to loosen up right now. The issue, the other, and that helped, and I was doing more of it tonight, a little distracted, but I want to keep doing it. Also, it helped watching a movie, because I've been trying not to watch movies too much because I want to be focused on writing, but it's not a good idea when, you know, I do need to, first of all, keep in touch with movies to, you know, see what I like about them and be connected to them, you know, and also they're just so, like, important to me. I saw Moneyball last night. I'm so glad I watched that. Oh my goodness, it is so... I've never seen it before. And, you know, I heard so much about it. Or I know it had this reputation. Didn't really know what it was like. I was expecting this rousing thing. I didn't realize what a sort of somber, serious film it is. And I loved it for that. Just how it looks deeper and deeper into what these characters are doing, and takes it so seriously and doesn't do any gimmicks with the camera and barely even moves the camera. It just looks at these characters, and it still looks interesting. And how it makes you basically like live and see the world through these characters. And the performance, Jonah Hill, and I was gonna say Seth Rogen, but no, I didn't mean that. Brad Pitt are amazing in it, and Jonah Hill in particular, like being like the least charismatic person in the world in a way. I heard him in an interview because I was just obsessed with it. I was looking up stuff about it today. He said he heard the character, the real life person, described as someone who could blend into the wall or something, or blend into the wallpaper. Like the least charismatic person ever, but because he's so like uncharismatic and unpretentious, this character, he becomes so interesting. Like, you know, he's got this thing, and he communicates in a way that I've never really seen before, although, you know, I've certainly like felt like I've met people like this. And there's the famous moment, you know, where he clenches his hand, and I'm like, that's so good. That's like, seems like what a person who's like, you know, not coordinated, not very charismatic, not great at expressing themselves, doing this awkward thing to celebrate. And it becomes incredibly compelling, though. That's the thing. It's so good. And the writing is just great. And of course, was it Steve Zalian? Did I pronounce his name right? Steve Zalian, I guess. I don't know. Steve Allen? What's his name? Steve Harvey. Yeah. No, Steve Zahn. Steven Spielberg. No, sorry. I think Steve Zalian, I don't know how to pronounce his name exactly, but him and Aaron Sorkin wrote it, and I was expecting a very fast-paced, you know, rapid-fire Aaron Sorkin thing, especially because it came like a year after The Social Network. Didn't expect this. It was not that super fast-paced. It was a lot of information, but it was just unlike anything I've seen. It reminded me of All the President's Men, the way it's almost like an investigative movie where they're trying to... And I was just trying to be aware of what this movie's doing right. I'm like, okay, it's setting up this world while it's showing what these characters are. First of all, who they are, because a lot of people aren't familiar with the inner workings of a baseball team. What their roles are within the organization, what their relationships are with each other, what their relationships are with themselves, what Brad Pitt's characters, Billy Bean, his, you know, pain from his past is, how it informs what he does, doing all these things at the same time, setting up what he wants, why he can't get it, what will happen if he can't get it, and then how he goes about coming up with a different plan to get it. All these multiple like strata of things doing at once. I'm like, oh, that's good. When a movie, it's so nice to see a movie that just cares about what it's about, and it just penetrated me, like it went down to my bones, and I can't stop thinking about it. And also, I'm delighted to see there's so many more interviews with Aaron Sorkin online that I hadn't seen or I hadn't been aware of. I thought there were like 3 or 4 main ones that I've seen, and they don't go super deep into his process of writing. Today, I found like 5 or 6 more. Many of them only have a few hundred views, or maybe a few thousand. One had like 919, and he actually gets deep into like what his process is and what he does. I'm like, this is what I want. I don't want to just hear, entertaining anecdotes and stuff and entertaining the audience. I want to hear, okay, like forget the audience, talk about writing. What is the writing like? And he talked about how he was mentored by William Goldman. I was like, of course. It always sounds like, oh, he was just this genius. He told this story about, I've seen him talk about before, where he started writing dialogue on his friend's typewriter when he was staying at his ex-girlfriend. He lived with his ex-girlfriend. It was her ex-girlfriend at the time, and she was dating his best friend, and he was home, and it was such a depressing picture. And I love stories like that, where someone's just trying and just things aren't going well for them. And he said he was struggling to survive, working jobs like a bus boy and other jobs like that, or a dishwasher or something. He said he was dressed up as a moose in Times Square and handing out flyers. I'm like, that is so cool. I love hearing these stories, because there's something so powerful to me about someone who's going after what they want like that. And I don't like the mythologizing of writers, like, oh, they just wrote something and it was great. But that was my impression of A Few Good Men, which was Aaron Sorkin's first screenplay. No, he said in one of these interviews he was taken under the wing of William Goldman, which is what I've heard about so many writers, which is somebody mentored them. They didn't just learn this stuff on their own. I'm like, thank goodness, now I know how he learned this. He had a good mentor. I believe I have a good, it's not exactly mentor because I'm in a workshop, so it's not like a one-on-one training, but we certainly do get a lot of, instruction or information from our teacher. But anyways, back to my depression. I was feeling pretty down, still kind of shaken up by what I went through. Really want to push myself. I've been having trouble sleeping because of it. Not horrible trouble sleeping, but I've been in this such tense like pain. And I'm like, why is this? Is it because I'm just stressed focusing on writing all day? Not even stressed that bad, but like, why is it I'm lying here for like an hour and I sort of half pass out, but I've got all this energy and I can't quite fall asleep. And yeah, I was just feeling down, and I just wanted to talk about that. Like, yeah, that's what I'm going through, which I expect to get better, and I got to be loose, and I got to be okay with not being perfect where I am. By the way, I have like 6 weeks before this assignment is due for class, so it's like, why am I even rushing? I'm probably way ahead of most people in class. I already know I did way more work. Well, I don't know if I did more work than other people, like more writing, but I did way more than was asked of us, just because I wanted to for the story. It had nothing to do with wanting to do more work. I just kept getting ideas and kept wanting to write and refine it and be open to stuff. And sure enough, in some of that, I think I came up with stuff that was really helpful, that's going to be able to solve problems I had in the story, along the lines of Moneyball. How do you unify all these different elements of the story? For me, I was wondering, like, I have all these different elements. How do I unify them? And I finally sort of came up with an idea and did some research. And I'm kind of disappointed with myself, but not really. I spent like $200 on books for this screenplay that I'm working on as research. And then after I bought them and I started getting some delivered, and I didn't read any of them, and I got some ebooks too, I realized I don't know if I need to read any of these, because the screenplay I'm writing is about a certain type of occupation and someone pursuing it, but that's not what the story's going to be about. The story's going to be about the relationships these characters have, and this occupation is going to be the through line through it that connects certain points, just certain, like, you know, moments in the story. It's going to come to the forefront, but it's that occupation alone is not drama. Think about it. If you're showing a movie about a mechanic, you have to show the relationship problems or whatever they want to achieve and stuff. And the mechanic thing, it's just got to be once in a while you have to remind people, hey, this person's a mechanic, maybe they got this big new job now, but they get it after they overcome some big problem. And so it's like the movie rewards us with this new, you know, big opportunity they have, or new paying gig, or whatever the case, or new accomplishment they've made there. And so that's why I'm like, I got all these books about this profession. I'm like, I don't think I need any of them. But it's okay, because I had to get it out of my system. It's like I had to go through that wrong turn before, and I don't regret having them. I'll try and read the books at some point, but I had to go through that wrong turn and get this thing out of me that I was like dying to say, okay, I need to do some research, and realizing this is not the type of research I need to do. I did look through like a quarter of a page of one of the books. I'm like, this is interesting, but has really nothing to do with my story. But it turned me on to the type of research I should be doing, like technical research for about this occupation, because that I do need to know, and I never quite thought, how do I need to go about it? And it's extremely simple, and this turned me on to it. So it was a $200 wrong, not even wrong turn, not mistake, just $200, you know, it was a bit of progress. I had to go through that. Back to my depression, yeah, just struggling with it, and trying to open myself up so I'm loose, where I'm like, oh, it's good that I'm writing. It doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, if I try and tell myself it's got to be perfect, I'm going to close myself off to new ideas. I'm going to make it worse, and I'm going to be in pain and constantly miserable, and it's not going to help my writing. I do wish, too, one thing I kind of regret is that I had some other someone else I could talk to about this, like another writer. I've reached out to writers, and no one's really either interested or available. It's a combination of both. For one thing, it's not the type of fun you imagine writing to be, because it's actually like, oh, this is a whole process you're going through. It's not about just having something fun written and reading it and making it or whatever. This is not a fantasy. This is like actual day-to-day work that can be painful. For some people is very painful, not just to do, but then to show it to others and try and ask specific questions to make sure you're getting across what you need to, and you're giving across the information you need to. And if you're not, they can point out and mark, oh, here's where this didn't work for me. Not just didn't work, and as in you didn't like it, but this set up something, this wasn't clear. Or if you're saying, okay, I tried to get this across and you can't point to where you got it across, that's a problem. Or if you're trying to say, well, this is supposed to be interesting, and you say, why is it interesting? Why is it interesting this character did this, or whatever the case, and you can't explain why and nobody's interested in it, that's a problem. But if people can point to it and say, here's why it was interesting, ooh, that moment my attention jumped up, or whatever, or this moment I didn't know how the character was going to get through this problem. That's a big problem people have. They don't make problems hard enough for their characters, so it seems like really obvious that they're going to solve them. If you can make it so that people don't understand, people can't figure out, like, well, how's this character going to get through this? Or if you yourself, when you're writing, you're like, oh, I don't know how this character is going to get through this problem. That's probably a conflict in your story worth keeping. But anyways, it is kind of, yeah, I wish I could have someone to work on with this stuff. But even then, I think people look for writing partners as an escape, as an excuse not to do the hard work. They're like, oh, I'll come up with an idea and you develop it. Well, you know, people who actually do that, like professionals, they pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for good writers to do that, because they want someone who's dedicated enough and you know, the people who are that dedicated and have a track record for it, that's the type of money they can get for it. So, you know, it doesn't make sense to say, oh, I want someone to do that for me. And I've been that person who wanted someone else to do that for me. And, you know, thank goodness I just grew out of it. But I literally did. I literally talked to somebody I knew, a writer I knew, wanting more than one writer, wanting them to do that. And, you know, I'm glad it didn't work out because I didn't have the proper respect for what this craft was. So I wouldn't have even recognized great writing or how to do it. I'm like, my attitude was, I just want something great to come out of this. And, you know, that's fine at a certain point. But, like, that's why I didn't learn as a writer. That's why I didn't get better or recognize what my strengths were and weaknesses were. And that takes uncovering, and it takes pain, and it takes patience. And a lot of people don't want to go through that. So, you know, I reached out to people, and I'm like still reaching out. Hey, if you're watching this video and you're actually interested in the discipline of not having fun, but the fun being the daily work of trying to sort of pass these tests with yourself to get better as a writer, let me know. So far I've not met or encountered a person who will do that. And you know, I say this as someone like, you know, I want to see the discipline I have in someone else. I get up at 3:45 every morning, even on the weekends. There are times I've slipped on that where I'll get up at like 4:30 or 5, but I try and, you know, like I exercise every day. I try and eat healthy. And well, why do I say that about writing? I want to be in a good headspace, healthy, and, you know, mentally healthy and sound when I'm writing. I can't be thinking, oh crap, I ate too much, which I did eat too much yesterday. But I can't be, you know, have distractions or, you know, like all this negativity with myself or angry at myself. And if I get up late, I'll be angry at myself. And I was for years and years, and I still struggle with that, with depression, with anger, with all that stuff, with perfectionism. But if that sounds exciting to you, and you know, if you like the idea of, at least for me, like me personally, you know, I went from being a bouncer, whatever, I'm not going to talk myself up because it's not worth talking up over, but yeah, not worth it. If that doesn't sound good enough to you right there, that you just want to work, like I want to do more work than other people, and you should want to do that too. Sorry, I'm just distracted by this battery charger for my helmet cam, or now it's just a bike action cam because the strap on my helmet broke off, the sticker on it. If you actually want to do more work than people, let me know. And by the way, I don't know if so far in all the other writers that I've seen, well, I won't say anything, and I wasn't going to say anything bad. I was actually going to say, I don't know if writers fail because of lack of talent. I really don't. Maybe there are some people who don't have the whatever in them talent to be a screenwriter, but my writing has been and can be as bad as anyone's, and yet, well, I can't say I have a track record yet because I haven't gotten any movies made, but yeah, so actually I want to make the offer even harder, even less tantalizing. If you want to do, like, and the work I'm talking about is being able to uncover each other's weaknesses through specific kind of reading for certain things and testing for them. It's not just whether you like it or not, because that's a vague question, and everyone's writing, for the most part, it's like kind of likable. It's not necessarily horrible, but it's nowhere near the standard it needs to be a movie that will grab people's attention and stay with them for days afterward, like Moneyball. And where your story can reach the potential that you want it to have, and, you know, reach lots of people. And if you're interested in doing that with someone like me who has no movie track record, is just a YouTuber and has not had a screenplay adapted or produced, but someone who just wants to go after it and do it day after day, even if I'm tired, even if whatever, let me know. And there, you know, certain ways you can go after it with specific, why do I say that badly? Specific exercises and sort of a regimen and a way of looking at your writing where you can develop the story you want. I'm not going to ask anyone to like impose like certain, you know, paradigms, and I've read many books like that, and they're great for like reverse engineering a movie and figuring out how did this successful movie work, and you can break down all these things that happened in it. But what I've realized is they're not helpful, for me at least. They're not good for developing the skills to write to that level. That's a whole different thing. Think about it. It's like understanding how a car works and even how to fix it, and trying to build a car. Probably maybe there is some that would be helpful for building a car, but or whatever you can think of, you know what I'm talking about. It's a different skill. Or even if you can talk about, well, whatever, I've said enough. But yeah, it is kind of a downer not to have another writer who's as dedicated as me to work with. I'm not saying that to brag at all. It's nothing worth bragging about. It doesn't mean I'm better than anyone. But if I see they're not as into it as me or dedicated, I'm like, I can't work with you. I'm not interested. So that'd be interesting. Let me know. And the good thing is, it doesn't matter what your skill level is. It really doesn't. Would be interested in working with someone who cares about this stuff a lot. But anyways, that's my little pitch. But yeah, kind of down lately, kind of a bummer. Maybe I'll try and stay up late tonight and watch another movie, because it was so like, as I get older, I have such less patience for bad movies. Like they're painful for me. I cannot watch them. I feel like I'm worse off if I spend time watching them, and my time's more valuable as I get older. But good movies or great movies become so much more important to me, because I feel like they just make me better. They make me a better person, not better like superior to others, but like they make my life better now. Whereas when I was younger, yeah, I loved them, and they did make my life better, but they were like entertainment. And like there were lots of types of entertainment, even though I always loved movies. And by the time I was 17, I knew I wanted to direct movies. And that never changed. Still want to direct them. But by the time I was like 31, or yeah, 31 I think, maybe 32, I realized, oh, I want to write movies. I didn't realize I had this dream in me that was peeking out and poking out, and then finally just I had to, like, I just wanted to do it so badly. And not even like I wanted to, just it was in me. This dream was in me. I didn't even know this dream was there. And it was just very gently incubating over the years to where I was like, oh, I just realized it. Like, oh, it's the dream is telling me I want this now. The dream is telling me it's there. It's time. I'm ready to start going after this. I can never really say I'm ready, because it's always like, you know, each screenplay I've been working on and had so many false starts on has been like a new job in itself, or a new language. But anyways, I can't believe I spent 30 minutes doing this. So much for going to sleep early tonight. But like the video, subscribe, all that. That's just what I'm going through. Work's good. You know, everything's good with me. Talked to my mom today. She's doing well. Moist Andy's doing well. He says his spine is stronger than before. He has stunned his doctors with his recovery from his bike crash. So, yeah, just like the video, all that. I'm trying to put up more videos, so there you go. This is one of them. So, been kind of bummed out lately, but I'm trying to using the tools I know to get better and to keep working at my writing. All right, bye.